Hi, my name's Celyn and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be testing out the world's blackest paint. This is called Black 3.0. I've done a bunch of research and I think this is the one that everyone's been trying out, but I'm not 100% sure. As you probably know, I'm an artist, so I'm very keen to find and experiment with new things, especially new paints. And apparently this is the world's blackest paint. From what I've seen, it looks amazing, but I haven't tried it for myself yet, so I'm super excited to try it out. But I'm also going to be putting it up against just a regular black acrylic paint that I use every single day. Oh, this is the Rowney System 3 Mars Black paint. I love this paint, it's great, it does what it needs to do, but I'm so excited to try this and see how much better or worse it is than my usual paint. Just for reference, I thought I'd give you an idea of how much these cost each. So this bottle is around £6 to £7 from Hobbycraft, and for this bottle, they're both 150 millilitres. This one is £20 without shipping. So it is a lot of money for a paint, but if it's amazing, I am willing to pay that. But anyway, before we get started, if you guys are new here, make sure to like and subscribe because it really helps me out. But anyway, I think we should just get started with the experiment.
So here's the blackest paint in its packaging. It comes in like this cardboard box on the outside and the paint's inside, and it just looks really fancy. I don't really have too much to say about this other than the fact that I really like the packaging. I love the shape of it and I love the minimalist design. Here's my other paint that I'm going to be using, which is just my usual Rowney System 3 acrylic paint in the color Mars Black. I love this paint. It's very normal and it's great. But here are both paints side by side. As you can see, they're very similar in size because they're both 150 milliliters. I haven't really watched anyone review this paint, so I have no idea how this experiment's gonna go and which one's gonna be better overall, so let's just get started. I really wanted to compare the way these paints looked just in general to begin with, so here I am trying to get the dregs out of my System 3 acrylic paint, which I should probably replace. First impressions, this paint is quite thick, as you can tell. It's quite blobby, but I went ahead and labeled it just in case I got confused. Once I was done labeling, I then grabbed my Black 3.0 paint, and right away off the bat, it looks a much more liquidy, but I don't know what that means, so I'm just gonna give you the benefit of the doubt and hopefully it works out good. Now that we've taken a look at the paints a little bit closer, we can now take a look at our models. These are the models I'm gonna be using today. Will, my boyfriend, help me 3D print I ended up picking these as my models because I thought they were gonna be really easy to work with, since I can remove the head from the body so I can work on one bit at a time, but also it has lots of divots and dents, so I think this will help us see really how dark the paint is. But as you can see, I 3D printed 2 of these so we can have one for each paint, so that's gonna be great. I am so excited to get this project started, so let's give it a go. I'm actually gonna start by painting with my very normal System 3 acrylic paint because I want to have like a base to begin with, something that I'm familiar with. Right off the bat, this paint applies super smoothly. It's really easy to apply and super opaque. I feel like you don't need very much of this paint and it goes really far. It is quite thick though, so I do find that it can be quite streaky. The streakiness also isn't helped by the fact that this paint dries really quickly, which is one of my favorite things about it in general because I'm so impatient when it comes to paint drying. I think I've really set up a challenge for these paints today by painting it onto something that's like got a shiny surface, and it's also quite a textured surface because it's 3D printed. It has lots and lots of layers. But as you can see, I went ahead and started by painting the body, and then I moved on to paint the head, which is basically like a dice and it has lots of little holes. At this point, I am starting to see quite a bit of texture with the paint because it's drying so quickly, but overall it's looking pretty good, and I'm so impressed that I was able to pretty much paint the whole thing with just one coat of paint. And eventually, after painting for a little while, it was done and I'm pretty happy with it. I think it looks good. As I mentioned, it does have a little bit of texture, but here it is completely assembled and I think it looks pretty good. I don't think the results are anything amazing. It looks like I've just painted something black, and that's okay, but I don't really have anything to compare it to, so I think we should try the second. So here is our competitor and my second model. I am so excited to try this paint. I have no idea what to expect, so let's just get started. As I mentioned a little earlier, this paint initially looked really liquidy, so when I started painting, I was feeling a little nervous, and as I was applying it, it wasn't quite as thick. As you can see, you can kind of see through the paint, but honestly, I wasn't too upset about this because I thought I can just do a second coat, and if the result is amazing, it's gonna be totally worth it, so I just carried on and gave it the benefit of the doubt. But as you can see, I started by painting the robot's body once again, and I have to say this paint applies really smoothly, and as I noticed it drying, it just dried flawlessly. So even though it's not as opaque, I'm probably gonna have to do a second coat, but it just dries so well. Even if I apply it with lumps and bumps, it just seems to smooth out everything that you apply. Anyway, once I was done painting the body, I then moved on to the little robot's dice head, and as you can see, when I paint with the grain of the 3D print, it's much thinner, but then if I go against the grain, the paint is so much darker. So I kind of just experimented with this and just seen how it dried overall, because I ended up doing a second coat anyway. But I went ahead and painted the sides one by one. I ended up doing 2 coats before moving on to the next side, and as you can see, it's starting to darken up really well. It looks amazing. At this point, I'm so excited about the results. It's starting to come together, and I can already see how this paint has gone viral because it just looks so good. But I went ahead and took my time with this one. It did take a little bit longer to paint because I had to do 2 coats and I had to dry the layers in between, but eventually it was done and I went ahead and assembled it, and it looks so cute. I mean, if you can't tell already, this paint is so incredible. It is so much darker than the first paint I used, so here they are side by side for you guys to see. I cannot believe the difference. I was honestly so happy with my initial painting, so seeing the darker paint next to it is just mind-blowing. Overall, I have to say the Black 3.0 paint is so much smoother and has an amazing finish. I like them both, but this one is a total winner.
Here they are! I am honestly blown away. Look at the difference! I was honestly pretty happy with this. This is the usual results I get with my generic acrylic paint, and I would consider Rowney as a pretty decent acrylic paint too. But this, like, you can hardly see any of the holes or anything. It is incredible. I found that in general, this paint just applies so much smoother. Like, even if it's streaky applying, I found that it just evens itself out in general. It does give a matte finish, which isn't for everyone, but I'm just so impressed with the results. It looks amazing. Overall, if you're just looking for a black acrylic paint, I would recommend the Rowney, but if you're looking for something fun and wacky and this is what you need, I would totally recommend this because it does exactly what it says it does. But this was a super fun experiment, so if you guys want to see me do something similar with a different acrylic paint, I know the same company does like the whitest paint, and I think they have like the pinkest paint. So if you want to see me experiment with either of those or anything else in general, just other art projects or anything, let me know. Any suggestions you have down in the comment section down below. Also, if you're new here, make sure to like and subscribe because it really helps me out. But I hope you guys enjoyed the experiment in general, or if you were looking for an insight into whether you should get it or not, I hope I helped. But that's pretty much it for today's video, and I will see you all next Friday at 5 p.m.